In a small ballet studio, tiny feet moved hesitantly to the rhythm of the music. Emma Reyes walked gracefully among her students, gently adjusting their postures. Teaching ballet was more than a job for her. It was her passion. "Good job, Sophia. Keep your back straight," she encouraged a brown-haired girl struggling with an arabesque pose. After class, Emma packed her bag and hurried home. A small but cozy apartment awaited her, where her husband, Daniel, and their twin sons, Ethan and Liam, were waiting. She smiled at the sight of Daniel trying to help the boys with their homework. "Have they been good today?" she asked, sitting down beside him. "They're learning math, and I think I'm the one who needs help," Daniel joked, making Emma laugh. They weren't rich, but they had each other. And for Emma, that was enough. On late nights, when the twins were asleep, she and Daniel would sit by the window, dreaming about the future. Emma always wanted to open her own ballet academy, a place where underprivileged children could learn to dance, where ballet wasn't just a distant dream. "One day you'll have it," Daniel told her, squeezing her hand. Emma believed him, but she had no idea that life was about to take a completely different turn. Emma would never forget that fateful day, the day the doctor looked at her with solemn eyes, his voice heavy with regret. "Your husband has late-stage cancer. I'm so sorry." The room suddenly felt ice cold. Daniel squeezed her hand, even though he was the one staring death in the face. "We'll fight this," Emma whispered, as if saying it firmly enough could change their fate. They sold everything, their old car, their furniture, even Emma's grandmother's wedding ring, to pay for treatments. But Daniel's condition worsened. One late afternoon, as the setting sun bathed the hospital room in golden light, Daniel looked at Emma and murmured, "You have to be strong, for Ethan and Liam." "You're going to make it," she choked out. Daniel smiled but said nothing more. That night, he passed away in his sleep, leaving Emma with a grief too deep to bear. But she had no time to mourn. The medical bills piled up, the rent was due, and her small salary couldn't cover it all. Then, the inevitable happened. The landlord knocked on their door, his voice devoid of sympathy. "Ms. Reyes, I need the apartment vacant by the end of the month." Emma packed up the little they had left, holding her sons close. With nowhere else to go, she stepped out into the night, into an uncertain future. She had never thought she would become homeless, but now it was her reality. The air was getting colder as Emma pulled her coat tighter, trying to shield Ethan and Liam, who were dozing off in her arms. She had spent the entire day walking, searching for a temporary shelter, but every place was full. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we don't have any available beds," the shelter worker said with a sympathetic look. Emma nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She couldn't cry, not in front of her boys. She was their mother. She had to be strong. As night fell, she found herself at the city's central train station, a place she had never imagined calling home. Around her, other homeless people curled up on benches, seeking warmth in the winter cold. "We'll stay here tonight, my loves," she whispered, pulling her children close. "We'll have a new home soon, right, Mom?" Ethan asked, his voice sleepy. "Of course, sweetheart," she assured him, even though she wasn't sure if that was true. As the station emptied out, Emma gazed up at the towering ceiling, listening to the distant echoes of train announcements. A small corner of the platform was now their home. She squeezed her son's hands. As long as they were together, she would never give up. But she had no idea that this place would lead her to the man who would change her life forever. The first days at the train station were brutal. Emma quickly learned that to survive, she had to adapt. Every morning, she woke up before everyone else, leading Ethan and Liam to the public restroom to wash up. She clung to a tiny bar of soap and an old comb like they were treasures, doing her best to make her boys look presentable. "Can we go to school, Mom?" Liam asked one morning. Emma froze for a second before forcing a gentle smile. "Soon, sweetheart, I promise." But even that promise felt fragile. While her sons played nearby, Emma searched for a way to earn money. One day, an elderly woman named Margaret, a longtime flower vendor at the station, took notice of her. "Girl, do you want to help me?" Margaret held out a bouquet of roses. I don't have any money." "It's not for selling, it's for sharing." Emma took the flowers, her hands trembling. From that day on, she helped Margaret sell flowers, earning just enough to buy bread and milk for her children. Over time, she learned to quietly evade security guards and find hidden corners where they could exist without being seen. One night, as Emma packed up the remaining flowers, she felt someone watching her. From a distance, a tall man in a dark suit leaned against a stone pillar, his gaze fixed on her. "Who is that?" she whispered to Margaret. "They call him Nathan Carter," the old woman said. "He owns half the businesses in this district, but be careful. Word is, he's planning to tear this station down." Emma gripped the flowers tightly. If the station was destroyed, where would they go? She had no idea that the man watching her from the shadows would soon change her life forever. That night, Emma curled up in a thin blanket, holding Ethan and Liam close. Margaret's words echoed in her mind. If the train station was really going to be torn down, they would have nowhere left to go. Rain started to fall, the cold wind seeping through the cracks of the old building. Ethan nestled deeper into her embrace, his body burning with fever. "Mom, I'm cold," Liam's weak voice whispered. Panic surged through Emma. She touched their foreheads. Both of them were burning up. What was she going to do? Before she could think of a plan, a harsh beam of light swept across their corner. "You can't stay here," the security guard announced. "The station closes in 10 minutes. "Please, just one night," Emma begged, clutching her sons tighter. "They have fevers and it's raining outside." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but if you don't leave, I'll have to call the police." Emma's heart pounded. She gripped her children, desperate. But before she could say another word, a deep voice cut through the tension. "Is there a problem?" Emma looked up, and there he was, the man in the dark suit she had seen before, Nathan Carter. "Mr. Carter," the guard hesitated. "This woman and her kids have been sleeping here. I was just enforcing the rules. Let them stay." "But sir, I'll take responsibility." The guard hesitated before giving a short nod and walking away. For a few moments, only Emma and Nathan remained, their eyes locking in the dim light of the station. She didn't know why he was helping her, but she had no other choice. Holding her sons tightly, she ignored the piercing gaze of Nathan Carter, the man who, by tomorrow, could destroy the only place she had left to call home. Yet, as he stood there watching, something about her resilience, her unwavering determination to protect her children, made him pause. The next morning, as sunlight filtered through the dusty station windows, Emma opened her eyes, feeling the steady breaths of her children against her chest. They had made it through another night. She carefully pulled the thin blanket around Ethan and Liam before getting up. As she looked up, her breath caught. Nathan Carter was standing nearby, hands in his pockets, silently watching. A wave of unease crept through her. Why was he still here? Emma turned away, pretending not to notice, but all day, as she helped Margaret sell flowers, she could feel his gaze on her from a distance. Then, one afternoon, as she rearranged the bouquets, a deep voice spoke, right in front of her. "Can I buy a bouquet?" She froze. Nathan Carter. But today, he wasn't in his usual suit. His sleeves were rolled up, making him look less intimidating. "Which one?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. "The one you're holding." Emma glanced down. She was holding a bouquet of pure white roses. She handed them to him, her hands slightly trembling as she took the money. "Keep the change," Nathan said, but instead of walking away, he studied her for a moment. "For your kids." Before she could respond, he turned and disappeared into the bustling crowd. Margaret chuckled, shaking her head knowingly. "This is the first time I've seen him buy flowers," she murmured, "and he's been coming around more often lately." Emma didn't know what it meant. But she knew one thing. Nathan Carter wasn't the type to help someone without a reason. The only question was, why did he care? In the days that followed, Emma realized something. Nathan Carter wasn't just a stranger who had helped her by chance. He showed up more often. He never said much, but he was always nearby, and each time he left something behind. A bouquet he bought for far more than it was worth. A sandwich accidentally left near where Ethan and Liam were playing. Emma tried not to think too much about it. But one afternoon, while she was selling flowers with Margaret, a group of men in suits arrived at the station. "Look," Margaret whispered. "They seem to be surveying the area." Emma followed her gaze, and her heart sank when she saw Nathan among them. Was he really planning to tear down the station? As the afternoon wore on, Nathan returned to the flower stand. But this time, he didn't just buy flowers. "Dinner with me," he said, his tone calm, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Emma stiffened. "Why?" "Because you and your kids deserve a real meal." She hesitated. She didn't want his pity. But when she looked at Ethan and Liam, two little boys who had grown used to modest meals, she knew she couldn't refuse. "All right," she murmured. Nathan nodded slightly, and Emma had no idea that this dinner would change everything. Dinner with Nathan was warmer than Emma had expected. It wasn't a fancy restaurant, but a small family diner where the soft yellow lights and the smell of fresh food made her feel like, for the first time in forever, she could breathe. Ethan and Liam were thrilled with their spaghetti, and Nathan, though clearly out of place in such a casual setting, patiently engaged with them. For the first time in months, Emma felt normal. Dinner with Nathan was something Emma hadn't expected. He didn't just offer them a meal, he took the time to listen, to talk, to genuinely care. "What did you used to dream about?" Nathan asked as the boys happily ate their dessert. Emma traced the rim of her coffee cup, hesitating before she smiled softly. "I wanted to open a ballet academy," she admitted. "A place for kids who couldn't afford lessons but still wanted to dance." "Then why didn't you?" Emma let out a quiet sigh. "Because life doesn't always give us chances." Nathan didn't reply, but something flickered in his eyes. As time passed, Nathan's presence in Emma's life was no longer an intrusion. At first, she resented how he always seemed to be nearby, but slowly she realized he never pushed, never pitied. He was simply there when Ethan and Liam needed a warm meal, when she needed an adult to talk to, when the cold nights made her want to give up. His steady gaze reminded her to keep going. One rainy afternoon, Emma hurried to pack up the flowers when Nathan appeared, holding two small coats. "They'll keep the boys warm," he said, setting them down without waiting for her permission. Emma looked at the coats, then at him, her heart stirred with something she had tried to ignore. They talked more after that, conversations about the past, about dreams, about things neither had shared with anyone else. "If you had the chance, would you still open your ballet academy?" Nathan asked one evening. Emma smiled, and for the first time, her eyes sparkled with something beyond survival. "Always." Nathan leaned forward, his voice softer now. "Then, let's make that happen." Emma blinked. "What?" "I have resources, you have talent. This doesn't have to stay a dream." Nathan didn't respond, but an idea was already forming in his mind. That night, as Emma read a bedtime story to her sons, Nathan sat nearby, quietly watching. He had once thought he didn't belong in their world, but maybe he had been wrong. And just when everything was starting to make sense, Victoria appeared. "Do you really think Nathan cares about you?" Her icy voice shattered Emma's thoughts. "This is just charity, and like any game, it will end soon." Emma wanted to believe she was wrong. But then she overheard Nathan speaking to his assistant. "I can't keep doing this forever. We need to wrap this up soon." The words struck like a knife, slicing through the fragile trust she had only just begun to build. Emma made her decision. She couldn't let herself and her children become a burden, just waiting to be cast aside. But as she packed their few belongings, a part of her hesitated. Nathan had been different. He had made her feel safe. And yet, she had been wrong before. Emma left without a word. Nathan didn't realize it at first, but when he returned to the train station that night and saw that Emma and the boys were gone, a strange feeling crept into his chest. He found Margaret. "Where is she?" The old woman shook her head, her voice disapproving. "You should let her be." But Nathan couldn't accept that. He spent hours combing through the streets near the station, asking homeless people, street vendors, anyone, "Have you seen a woman with two blonde-haired boys?" Everyone shook their heads. No one knew. The following days were a nightmare. Nathan couldn't focus on work, couldn't sleep. One question haunted him. Where is she? Then came the call from the hospital. "Mr. Carter, this is Central Hospital. We have two boys admitted with severe pneumonia. Your name is listed as their emergency contact." Nathan's heart clenched. Ethan and Liam? Yes, their mother is here too. He didn't wait to hear more. He grabbed his keys and drove like a madman to the hospital. For the first time in his life, Nathan realized something. If he lost them, he would have nothing left. When Nathan stepped into the hospital room, the first thing he saw was Emma, exhausted, frail, but still holding on to Ethan and Liam's hands. She looked up as he approached, her eyes swollen from worry and sleepless nights. "Why didn't you call me?" Nathan's voice was hoarse. Emma turned away. "You were busy." "No, Emma." He stepped closer, kneeling beside her. "I was never too busy for you and the boys." She said nothing, but the walls she had built around herself began to crack. Nathan sighed, pulling out his phone and handing it to her. "This is my new project. The station won't be torn down. It'll be turned into a community center, and I want you to be part of it." Emma looked at the designs. Right in the heart of it was a ballet academy. "But why?" she whispered. Nathan took her hand. "Because you taught me something, that building doesn't always mean destroying, and because I can't lose you." Tears filled her eyes as she squeezed his hand. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe again. 2 years later, the Hope Center finally opened its doors. The once forgotten train station had been transformed into a vibrant community hub, a ballet academy, a small library, shops that provided jobs for the homeless. On stage at the grand opening, Emma stood in a simple white dress, holding her son's hands as they stepped into the spotlight. Nathan watched from below, silent pride shining in his eyes. As the first notes of music played, Ethan and Liam began their performance. Two boys who once had nothing, now shining on stage. Emma glanced at Nathan. She had once believed that miracles didn't exist. But now she knew that sometimes miracles weren't things that fell from the sky. They were things people created for each other. Nathan stepped onto the stage, taking her hand in his. "Are you ready for the next chapter?" Emma smiled, squeezing his hand. "Always." And as the applause echoed through the hall, she knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. After the grand opening, as the crowd slowly dispersed, Nathan gently pulled Emma aside. "There's one more thing I haven't said." Before she could respond, he knelt down and pulled out a small velvet box. Ethan and Liam gasped. "Mom, he's doing the thing princes do in fairy tales." Emma covered her mouth, tears welling up as Nathan opened the box to reveal a simple yet elegant ring. "Emma, you taught me what it truly means to build something lasting, not with bricks and steel, but with love. You gave me a reason to believe in things I never thought possible. Let's build a family together, forever." Emma's breath hitched. For so long she had feared hoping for too much. But looking into Nathan's eyes, she saw something unshakable, something she had been missing her entire life. "A home." Emma let out a watery laugh. "Well, what do you boys think?" she asked Ethan and Liam. The twins immediately tackled Nathan in a hug. "Yes," Ethan shouted. "We always wanted you to be our dad," Liam added, squeezing him tighter. Emma looked at them, her heart overflowing. She reached down, placing her hand over Nathan's. "Yes," she whispered, "always." 1 month later, under a golden afternoon sky, Emma walked down the aisle in a flowing white dress toward the man who had turned her sorrow into a new beginning. And as Nathan kissed her amidst the cheers of their friends and family, Emma knew, at last, they were a family. Forever.